Listen, y'all, it's 2022 and everybody swears that just because they have a voice, that they should be heard. So podcast. Today's episode is all about podcasts. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the problematic. Because before there was a Kevin Samuels, there was Sladio, bitch. So let's start there.
Keep my foot in your throat, ain't no written to go. Let's start it. Keep my foot in your throat, ain't no written to go. Let's start it. Keep my foot in your throat, ain't no written to go. Let's start it. Keep my foot in your throat, ain't no written to go. I in the blue, your sight in the plan. I in the greatest chest, I in the man. Most of it, most needed part of the brand. If you ain't nothing, I'll say it again. Keep my foot in your throat, ain't no written to go. Let's start it. Keep my foot in your throat, ain't no written to go. Say what you need to say. 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 Say what you need to say.
It took me quite a long time to develop a voice, and now that I have it, I'm not going to be silent. Madeline Albright. Listen, the way that this almost did not happen, like, I don't even think I understand how long it took for this to finally just even get off the fucking ground. And that's exactly what the fuck we're gonna get into with this episode. Like, that's exactly why I was like, okay, listen, if I'm gonna do this, we're gonna be honest and we're gonna start it off the right fucking way. And we're gonna tell some truths and we're gonna just be honest, okay? Be honest and just really get into the nitty gritty of shit, because the way that this shit almost did not fucking happen. But it is. So let's fucking get into it. So I'm definitely somebody who, I guess you could say, like, I grew up on YouTube, pretty much like how everybody else is. Like, I definitely grew up watching YouTube and watching different channels and shit like that. But I was always more so into, like, the entertainment channels, the commentary channels, you know, the channels where it was people that had something to say, you know, people that would give you their rawest, honest fucking opinions, right? And so one of the first people that I would watch when it came to YouTube was this person named Wesley, right? Mona Simone, A Connection TV, right? Real flashy, real out there, real va-va-voom, like just over the fucking top, like very similar actually to Chi-Chi, but like way ratcheter, if that even fucking makes sense. And, you know, as I used to watch this channel, I love the fact that, okay, you could be authentic, you could speak your truth, you could like really just say how the fuck you feel and like get everything off of your chest and just be fucking you, right? And then of course, you know, as years going on, you know, YouTube changes. Like, you have the beauty influencer culture, you have the makeup culture, you have the cancel culture, you have the blogs, you have, you know, TV show reviews, you got storytellers, you got all of these different things, right? But the one thing that remained consistent, even throughout my own little journey, like the one thing that remained consistent for me was I always, like, at the end of the fucking day when I needed like to relax or I needed a way to just chill, the one category that always brought me back was always entertainments and just social commentary and just opinions and just people just literally turning on the camera and speaking their fucking mind, right? Because that's sort of who I am, right? That's sort of who I am. So when you ask me now in 2022, did I ever think I would be listening to podcasts? Did I ever think that I would be doing one necessarily? I mean, because I feel like now, definitely in 22, like, podcasts are definitely a dime a dozen. Like, so many are fucking popping up. So many are, like, it's like literally, like, every time you turn around, somebody's announcing a fucking podcast that they're doing. And being on YouTube for so long, you notice that there are certain trends that happen, and then people just kind of like jump on it. And then a lot of the times you have people that, are naturally good at doing the trend, or like, let's say like story times, for instance, right? Everybody and their mama was on fucking story times, but you could clearly tell, like who's actually good at doing story times and who was just jumping on it for a quick buck, a quick trend, a quick moment, to build up whatever, right? And that's usually how it seems to be. Like it happened with the beauty culture, it happened with the story time culture. Over the last couple of years, it was OnlyFans. Everybody was and their mama was getting a fucking OnlyFans. Everybody and their mama was starting a YouTube because of influencer culture. Even celebrities, we're watching people like Candy and Rashida and people that, yeah, we know them from like reality TV and shit like that, but we don't know you to be a YouTuber. We don't know you to sit down and do a fucking vlog, a fucking Q&A and shit like that. But again, there are these trends and shit that happen, and everybody just kind of jumps on it and latches onto it, and it can oversaturate some type of shit. So now in 2022, there's so many fucking podcasts that it's not even funny. A lot of money is being invested into this world, and I think a lot of people see like, okay, I can really make a shit ton of money doing this shit, or I don't really know what the fuck it is. I honestly don't. I'm trying my best to like stay in my own lane and like just kind of mind the business that pays me, but at the same time, you grow competitive. You feel like, because you never want to feel like what you're doing is being overlooked because of someone doing something for clout, right? And there are a lot of people that are clout chasing, that's just the way how the world works, right? But you also at the same time have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, what's for me is for me, and if this is what I'm truly called to do, or if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, then I'm gonna rise to the top with or without, with or without someone else's success or whatever affecting that, right? And so when I think about like how long it took me to even get this shit going, like when I tell you there was so many different factors, and that was definitely one of them, because it's like, okay, well, who's really gonna care, who's really gonna like actually give a fuck, like who's like, there's so many people now doing like literally every time you turn around there's a YouTuber popping up with a fucking podcast, and it's just like, it's oversaturated, nobody's gonna give a fuck, like you tell yourself all of these fucking things, and then you have the universe kicking your ass and constantly reminding you like, hey, like da da da, or what about that project, or especially if you're like me, like super into astrology and shit like that, it's like every time that there's like a fucking astrological event going on, I'm usually more than directly like affected by whatever transit is going on. And lately, literally for like the last year nonstop, it's almost like every fucking transit has been like, start, just take a step, just start. But of course, it's never that easy. It's never that easy. Sometimes the universe will give you like they'll give you like a heads up, they'll give you like a notification, and you'll think like, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to like get going right now. Oh, today's the day I gotta go buy the house. Today's the day I gotta go buy the car. Today's the day I gotta get married. Today's the day I gotta, like, you start planning your whole life around this event that you feel like you're being called or pushed to do, right? And sometimes it's just about a mustard seed, right? What's that quote that they say, like a mustard seed of hope or a mustard seed of courage or whatever? Like sometimes it's literally just that, like planting the seed, right? And so when I think about the seed for me that was planted, it was literally a year ago, actually, like literally a year ago, maybe even to the date, I want to say, definitely 2021 of like May, June-ish area, same time period. It was also a new moon in Gemini. Okay. I have Gemini in my 5th house of creativity and romance, and I have Gemini in my 6th house of everyday work habits and everyday work and shit like that, right? And around this time, that is when shit really started getting murky, right? So actually backing it up, I noticed that it was time for me to do a change once shit started getting rocky with the spirituality channel, right? Because for someone like me, like there's been like a whole Like, and I love the fact that I'm so into astrology now. Like, I love the fact that I can like better predict this shit. I love the fact that I'm like really in tune with the universe now, because now so much of my life fucking makes sense. Like, actually, let's take it all the way back to the beginning, right? Okay. So when I was a little kid, I always knew that I wanted to do music. Always knew I wanted to fucking do music, but we're talking about like a 90s baby, right? I was born in 93. And so, back then, this is before like streaming and before like, record labels being on Twitter and social media and all of that. And so if you wanted to be a fucking music artist, like you had to show up to a Beyonce concert and pray that you'll get a chance to sing for her, or, wait outside of a record label, or be in the streets in New York City trying to sell your mixtape. Like, that is how you fucking got on, right? That is how you fucking got on. Now, for me, I've always been very different, very strategic, very just think out of the box, right? Like, I'm a Capricorn rising, but it's at 29 degrees, so technically I'm Aquarius rising, so yeah, bitch. Like, not only do I work hard, okay, and will grind to the death of me, okay? Speaking of death, Pluto, Scorpio, 10th house, okay? So career transformations are very, 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 as you guys will see with what I'm about to say, my career habits. When it's time to go, it's time to go. When it's time for change, when it's time for transformation, the universe will let me know. I have Scorpio, Pluto, and my 10th house of career. So it's like life and death throughout my career. But getting back to what I was saying. So back then, you kind of just, it was like you had to know somebody that knew somebody, or you had to do shit to get, like, you just had to basically do Team Too Much. And this Team Too Much was not doing that Team Too Much, because then that would have really been too goddamn much. And so I decided that, okay, I'm just going to play around with some graphics, let me figure out what can I do, right? And I was really interested in graphic design, right? This is how crazy fucking life works, like, because literally everything is fucking connected, even down to the point of me being here right now. Like, everything is so fucking connected, because I remember loving music so goddamn much that I would go and create, like, I learned how to do like designs, right, through like Adobe Photoshop, and I would be on like these TV forums and shit like that. Just for my favorite shows, That's So Raven, writing scripts for these shows and shit, and building fan sites for people like Raven and Sierra. Like, I literally had a website called the ATL Girls, and it was Raven and Sierra. It was like dedicated to both of them. Like, it's fucking crazy, and that was actually my password for like 15 years. But neither here nor there. I learned how to do graphic design. And that simply literally just came from me having a hobby of, okay, I look up to these celebrities, I love them, so let me create like a fan site for them, to show my love for them, right? Moving that along, that's how I got the experience to even know how to design, or even know how to build a website and shit like that. And so now when it's coming time where, I'm starting to think about where I want to see myself in 20 years, mind you, I'm like 12, but obviously I have this big dream I want to chase, and I'm watching Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. I'm seeing everybody else blow up at the age of 12, and I'm like, bitch, I want that. So, I'm thinking in my head, okay, I don't want to sell mixtapes on a corner, okay? Not that I probably could have, because, bitch, I was 12. But still, it's like, I have this big ass dream. How exactly am I going to get there? Like, what am I going to do? Okay, let me turn my purpose, or turn my with one of my hobbies into a profit, right? And so clearly, if I'm doing this shit for celebrities that don't fucking know me, right? That don't know me, don't give a damn about me, why don't I just do it for them for real, right? Like, why don't I just do it for real, right? Because for one, I'm broke. Okay, I ain't got no money coming in. Okay, my mother was broke as hell, ain't had no money coming. So it was like, I could use the money, but then at the same time, it's like, I could build that relationship with these celebrities and leverage that for my music career. Hello. And also, too, again, keep in mind, very intuitive. First of all, psychic, for those that don't know. Psychic, extremely intuitive, all of that. Light worker, all of that, right? And so in my head, and I keep saying in my head, but I'm going to be very, very fucking clear. It was in my head, but it was more so in my soul, but more so in my intuition, in my third eye, because none of this would have been possible without spirit. Like, honestly and truly, most of what I'm saying, all of what I'm saying really, was downloads from spirit. And because I was listening, I was getting good results from it, right? Cause what fucking crazy like how crazy do you have to be like fucking 12 years old and say, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna start building websites. I'm just gonna, on a flim, I'm just gonna learn how to build websites and code websites and designs and shit. And, yeah, I'll turn it into a celebrity business and start working with celebrities. And then, yeah, because we know each other, that's gonna transfer over to the music career and they'll be willing to, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type shit, right? Who fucking thinks of some shit like that? Like, who the fuck thinks of some shit like that? And the fact that it actually worked, nobody but Spirit. Nobody but Spirit, Because, listen, I tell people all the time, like, life is challenging, life is hard, life has its ups and downs, and all of that shit, yada, 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 right? But at the end of the motherfucking day, it's like, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, right? So, I think child, not me sitting here trying to quote. I hope I got that right. Life doesn't happen for you, it happens to, no, life doesn't, y'all know what the fuck I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. It's a positive quote, okay? Like, I don't know what the fucking quote is, but regardless, yes, life is challenging, but things happen in your favor if you just go with the flow. And that's why we face so much fucking friction in our lives, because we're steady, constantly trying to fight against the flow of where our life is trying to take us. Girl, fuck that husband. Fuck that boyfriend. He cheating on you anyways. Like, fuck them kids. They don't even like you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Fuck that job. Like, they're not gonna give a fuck if you die tomorrow anyway. Like, stop trying to hold on to shit that's trying to release itself out of your grip. Let it go. If it wants to go, let it go. If it's meant to be, it'll come back. All of that cliche shit, right? And so your life just flows better when you listen to your gut. And my gut was telling me, like, yo, get this shit together. Like, you can actually use this to leverage your career and pop the fuck off. And so that's what I did. I built relationships. And I'm sure there'll probably be an episode about that, but I definitely built several different relationships with celebrities and things like that. But see, remember what I said about the whole Pluto, Scorpio, 10th house of career? Yeah, that fucking matters, because life, death, transformations, mind you, that's what Pluto and Scorpio represent, right? Because Pluto is ruled by Scorpio, right? Or Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, or however you say it. So it's like double Scorpio, double Pluto, right? And then you have your 10th house of career, legacy, reputation, all of that. Also, too, Scorpio is very intense, so that makes sense why I'm a 12-year-old and I'm literally talking to adults and working with different record labels and celebrities and all of this shit, and not afraid to do that as a kid or be seen as a kid, because for one, I was mature for my fucking age. Two, I looked like I was fucking 20. Okay, and when people found out my age, it was just like, wow, you are brilliant. And I was like, duh, bitch, I know. I fucking know. I know. And so, eventually all of that came crashing down because Pluto, Scorpio, it needed to do its thing, right? It's time for me to move on. This ain't working, right? And so now we in an era of social media, and it's starting to become a thing of, okay, there are possibly people that are on YouTube and then possibly becoming a star. What is this, influencer? What like very early on in that, mind you, again, I had already had intuitive downloads from Spirit. Same as with Twitter. When I was doing the whole graphic design thing. Yeah, sure, there were a couple of people, but I could literally probably count on like two hands how many designers were actually doing what I was doing. Not for the same reasons, but doing what I was doing. And so just being very strategic and very creative, that's how I was able to get in touch with so many celebrities and things like that, because social media was very new. And a lot of people didn't know what the fuck Twitter was. This is when literally Twitter had in the chat box, what are you doing? And people would literally just tweet out, eating a banana, doing my husband, type shit, right? But I knew that, okay, I could use this to my gain, right? The celebrities, they wake up at certain times. If I just hit them up at the right time, cool. I say all of that to say, at some point, things changed. Social media is getting bigger. The concept of an influencer isn't really known. But again, this is when Spirit is giving me more intuitive downloads, okay, social media is about to be a big thing. This is something that you can use to blow. This is something that you can use to blow and take yourself to the next level. Again, maybe the most famous person at the time was a Jenna Marbles. It was a full of people, but still, YouTube was looked at as still being something like that wasn't real. That's not a real job. Like, so good content creator, influencer, brand deal, shit like that wasn't even thought of when I realized, okay, I need to transfer over and started doing something different. Mind you, this is like 2015. Like, I think Vine is still a thing, right? Whatever. So I get onto YouTube and take off with YouTube. Now, mind you, I had to stop doing the whole graphic design Twitter thing because, again, Scorpio, 10th house, Pluto, very much, the house of career, and with Scorpio and Pluto there, it's like life and death transformations. And so shit just ends abruptly. And so it got to a point where I stopped receiving orders for Twitter. I stopped receiving orders for designs. I stopped receiving money. The money was trash. People was offering me $5 to do, $100 worth of work. Like, it just really got bad. And I tried to cling on to it as long as possible. I tried to cling on to it, but as the universe will have it, it was just time to let it go. But by that point, when it was time to let it go, I had already transitioned over into doing YouTube, right? And everybody knows my story with that. I started YouTube in October of 2015. Mind you, too, because here's also another thing, too. When something is meant for you, it really is meant for you. I said that earlier, right? Because even as I'm sitting here talking now, I'm thinking about how it's like every step of my journey I did at some point, but I was not in a place where I was fully ready to do it, right? Because everybody knows that I started YouTube officially. Well, a lot of people think I started in 2016, but I actually started October 2015. So, I didn't get popular. Like, it didn't take me long to get popping. Like, maybe like February 2016 is when I really started getting popping. But I had actually started in October 2015. But crazy enough, back in 2013, because I specifically remember living in Sayreville at the time. This is when I was living in the basement, and my best friend at the time let me borrow her computer, and I remember playing around on her MacBook and making a bunch of YouTube videos and trying to upload them. And I just couldn't figure out how to work it, or something was going on, so it never actually happened. But I remember trying to become a YouTuber in 2013, but it just didn't work out, right? And as you'll notice with every story that I'm explaining, every piece of the journey or whatever, you'll notice that there was a moment in which things could have started, but I just wasn't ready yet. And everything happens for a fucking reason, right? Everything, right? Even with the Twitter situation, obviously I had started off doing designs for celebrities and shit like that, but I wasn't ready to. Okay, so moving it along, we get to YouTube. YouTube is popping now, and I'm at the point where, again, I got the downloads from Spirit. Also, too, I'm kind of like talking to these celebrities, and when I say celebrities, I mean talking to the celebrities and talking to their teams and managers and record label A&Rs and things like that. This is at a time when now social media is popping, and they're like, you don't need us. So all of these, literally, I had like a list of maybe like 13,000 contacts, and a lot of it was bullshit, because I was like, after you hear but so many people tell you, you don't need me. Look at what's happening on social media right now. Look at how people are creating a whole career and this, that, and a third. Like, after you hear that so many times, but from so many people, you start going, okay. Especially when you're an intuitive like me, it's like, okay, Spirit, I hear you. Okay, God, I hear you. Because clearly I'm hearing this for a reason. And I'm not somebody who is going to wait around for somebody to do something for me. Like, no. Girl, did my lights just fucking go out? Technical difficulties. I know my LED lights did not just fucking go out. Girl, this is very Section 8. Very Section 8. I'm about to fucking scream. The way I'm about to fucking scream, I didn't notice that the remote was on my lap and I pressed the off button. She's slow. So, getting back to what the fuck I was saying. Social media is popping, and basically just I took on what Spirit was trying to show me. And so I decided, okay, now it's time for me to become a storyteller, right? That's what's popping on YouTube. I was good at it. Very good at it. Now, here's the thing, though. I had my own set of intentions, and I still don't, I don't put anything past those intentions. Like, I'm not mad at the intentions I had. Like, I intentionally got on YouTube to use it as a stepping stone. All these people, all these celebrities, all these people within the industry is telling me, you don't need us. Just make a name for yourself. You don't need us. That's what the fuck I'm gonna do. But I was not in the right space. I wasn't. I was meant to get a taste of it, to be introduced to it. But the reason why it did not work, everything happens for a reason. I could sit up here and girl, there will be a podcast episode about 2017 and everything that happened and even some other shit. But deeper than that, everything happens for a reason because I had the instant fame. I went viral. I had over 72 million views. Literally. Over 72 million fucking views. Real Housewives of Atlanta is barely pulling in 1 million views in a week. Bitch, they pull in what? Maybe 20 million views over the whole season? I pulled in 72 million views in about a year from telling sex stories. Because honestly, what the fuck was I really talking about on YouTube in my stories? I mean, they were cute, but they didn't really go into depth, which we'll go back into. Because that's why we're here. That's how we ended up here with this podcast, right? Because I was telling stories like that before. From the outside looking in, I was a success. I had the numbers. I was going viral. Like my shit was doing good. Like my videos were everywhere. I was getting exposed by everybody on the fucking internet. Okay. Say what you want, but Sky Santana was infamous. There's not a motherfucker who was popping at the time that did not know about me because I was popping just as well. And of course, you have people that have 10 million followers or 300,000 followers, and who is this little bitch with 60K that's popping and their videos is doing better than mine? You know what I'm saying? So I was a threat. Because I was very intense. My YouTube journey happened intensely. And there were a lot of intense lessons that I needed to learn. Socially, how to deal with other people, because, this is a trauma-driven podcast, but on this pod, we're going to be speaking from the other lens of looking at trauma. Now, we're not going to trauma bond, but we are going to take accountability and awareness for situations, right? And so at that time, and I was telling stories on YouTube, I wasn't ready to do that. I came to YouTube to find a family because I hated my own. You know what I'm saying? I came to YouTube to build friendships with fans because I felt like I didn't have any, right? And I also had this music career that I'm chasing, and in my head I have this whole little fantasy built up of, okay, one day you're gonna get there, you're gonna use this as a stepping stone, everybody's gonna love you, and we're gonna turn those fans into friendships, and we're all just gonna skip together out into the rainbow. And that's just not reality. It's not. And so let's go back to that Scorpio Pluto 10th house, right? Like, what did I say? I'm gonna keep drilling it into you guys' head. I speak in astrology talk now, so just get used to it. But 10th house of career, legacy, reputation. We're talking Scorpio and Pluto, life and death, transformation, sex, debts. So it was activating. I was being transformed through YouTube because I didn't realize that I had so much trauma, that I was doing the right thing for the wrong reasons and doing it in the wrong way. And so that even goes back to what I was saying earlier about how sometimes you will be introduced to what it is you're supposed to be doing. And a lot of times it may very well be too early because you don't get it yet. You're not there yet. Mentally, you're not there yet. Physically, you might not be there yet. Emotionally, you may not be there yet. So to anyone that looks at me and says, no, Sky Santana fell off, or, you had a good run for about a year or two and you just, what happened? Life happened. Because life needed to happen in order for this moment to happen, right? And so what happened is that after that channel fell apart, again, it's like the Twitter situation where I'm holding on, right? Trying to like not go with the flow of life. But in my head, I'm literally telling all my friends in real life, like, yo, this shit is bullshit. Nobody's on live. I'm not making money. Everybody and their mama is exposing me. I'm not happy. Like, I know I need, like, literally on fucking paper, it's just like, bitch, leave. But I'm holding on. Why? Because I've never made that much money in my goddamn life. What? I'm a bitch that came from nothing. It was hard to get $2 for lunch, okay? And then because I was so fucking stressed out, a lot of times I wouldn't even eat fucking lunch because I would say that $2 to go up the block to to this truck named Tony's, okay? Cute motherfucker named Tony, that would literally, knowing that I was a high school student, but still, okay, he loved me. He would give me 4 Lucy's for $1. Now, technically, if you don't know what Lucy's are basically just like loose leaf Newport cigarettes, right? And they're supposed to be 2 for $1. But he loved me so much, he would be giving me 4 or he wasn't a pervert, y'all. I promise he wasn't. And I promise it was very, well, we're not even gonna go there. I'm grown now. I am grown now. So I need to go back and see if he's still working there, okay? Ooh. Chad, anyways, we're not gonna do that though. But I used to go there. I used to get the cigarettes, and you know that how do we get on cigarettes? That's neither here or there, bitch. Listen, I forgot what my point was. My point is just that things happen for a reason. I really am mad that I forgot my train of thought, and I am completely off script, so I can't even look at my outline and see where the fuck I'm at. Real fucking moment, I guess. We just gonna wait and we're gonna sit in silence until I figure it out, because it ain't like y'all bitches got anything better to do. What fuck you going after this? Okay, I am the best thing to do. Let's start there. Okay. I really lost my train of motherfucking thought. Okay, yeah, I was talking about the money. Right, that's what I said. So yeah, I basically, you know, that's what I would do with my money. But I was barely able to get $2 for lunch every day. So making $20,000, what the fuck? Where was I gonna make more than $20,000 a goddamn month? Let's talk about it. Okay, let's start there for real. And so you goddamn right, I was holding on to YouTube like the deaf motherfucking. I was holding on because I needed that money. And I needed this, like, why was it not aligning? Why, like, I had it all mapped out. Like, and listen, I had already, I'm gonna keep saying, 10th house, Pluto, Scorpio, 10th house, life, death, transformation. Life and death transformations, okay? Scorpio energy is intense, right? So I already had this bag over here that I messed up, this whole graphic designing bag that I messed up. And now you mean to tell me all of what's happening with YouTube is coming crashing? Like, I can't afford to start over. I can't. So it took me a long time. Like, I knew probably at the top of 2017, this ain't gonna work. Because that Scorpio intense energy just came in and intensely showed my ass very quick that shit was headed down south. But it took me still about 2-3 years to finally listen, go with the flow, and change the tide. And so the next chapter of my life becomes aligning souls, right? I go through my whole spiritual awakening. The pandemic happened. And, you know, I go through my spiritual awakening, my spiritual ascension. And I get called to start a spirituality channel. Because one thing about me is that Aubrey is about her food, her man, her music, and her God. Okay? That's all I care about is music, food, and spirituality. And my nigga. That's it. Literally. That's all I give a fuck about. And so I was called to start this astrology channel. And I'm thinking, okay, this feels right. Especially after all the negativity and shit that I went through in the past with the past channel. You know, this is gonna be different. You know, no drama. You know, because I hated telling stories by that point. Everybody named mama knew I was telling everybody, no. I'm done telling stories. Get the fuck out of my face. I'm not telling no more. I'm not saying one more single goddamn story, okay? I am done. Because, listen, I had not even gotten to the meat and the thick of my life. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Where else was I making $20,000 to tell stories about sucking dick? You know what I mean? And so there were certain things though. I'm not gonna lie, like the story time that I did about, the thug brother and how I almost went to jail. So there were moments where I was vulnerable. Like, we're not gonna sit and act like my story times really were fake or anything like that. But my point is that the level of death that I thought that I would someday be able to go to with the people following me, my audience and things like that, especially after the way that I felt discarded and thrown away. Whether anybody believes that in their head or not, that was my reality. I felt discarded and thrown away, and it felt like I gave y'all the best of me, and the way that y'all just threw me and tossed me aside. And not that I didn't make it easy to do, because I didn't always have the best attitude. I wasn't always the best person to be around or to watch during those times, because I did not know how to deal with those emotions, right? I didn't know how to process everything, right? And again, I'm still fighting for my life when literally I could be off of life support if I just sat down and listened to spirit and just went with the tide. Go with the fucking tide. Yet I'm fighting for my life. And that's why it feels like I'm drowning. That's why it feels like I'm suffocating. But neither here or there. That was nothing but drama. That era. It was nothing but drama. And it almost killed me. It almost wiped me out. Because I was fresh off of a divorce, the family that I had created had separated from me, was taken away from me. And so to go from that into everything with YouTube, fresh off of, the downfalls of what happened with the graphic designing, I felt like a failure. I felt like, damn, I dropped the ball. So this time it has to be worth it, God. It has to be worth it. And so I go through my spiritual awakening and I realize, okay, there's a deeper part of me that is like, okay, yeah. You are meant to heal people. You're a healer, and literally having these conversations with my angels and discovering so much shit and all of this. And the crazy thing is that, like I said, I've always been into spirituality. Always been into spirituality. And actually, I was going to say something, but I'll save it. But always into spirituality, right? But it was just time for it to become a highlight of my life, right? And so I get that started. Everything's going great. I'm making money. I'm building up a clientele. And then it gets to a point where Scorpio 10th house, Pluto 10th house. What did I say? 10th house of career. Scorpio and Pluto. What is that? Life and death transformations. Sex. Intimacy. Like debts. Like joint finances, business relationships, taxes, like shit is starting to get crazy. I started noticing that I needed to leave behind an astrology channel top of 2021 because things started getting rough and I was no longer living at home. I had moved out. I separated from my family. And so I am somebody that I needed money. You know what I mean? Like I was on my own. So I needed to make sure that whatever I was committing myself to, now the stakes were higher. Like I'm not at mommy's house and doing YouTube and telling stories and I can figure it out. No, there is this shit has to work. Because there's no going back to what mommy? Mommy is dead to me. Mommy is dead to me. So it had to work in my mind. So top of 2021, I knew that it was time to hang it up. But again, where the hell am I gonna go? I can't go home. If I can't pay my rent, I'm homeless. And technically, at that time, I was homeless. Stay tuned for that episode. Stay tuned for that episode. The one about living situations in housings or apartments or whatever I choose to call it. But technically, I was. But regardless, if I didn't work, I didn't make money. So I'm getting these downloads from Spirit. Because again, they always send it to you early. But it just depends on where you are in your life if you can see them red flags. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you too busy paying attention to what sparkles and glitters in the city lights to see the fucking red flags. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you in La La Land. Sometimes you too busy feeling the music that you don't see the red flags. Whatever it is, it's not that I was too distracted. It was just more so of, listen, I see the red flag. I know I should probably slow down and stop and pay attention, but I got to get to where I'm going because I'm almost out of gas. And if I run out of gas before I get there, then I'm going to really be stuck and shit out of luck. So I kept working. I kept doing the astrology channel. I kept doing it like it was nothing, right? About a year ago, it was around May 2021, June 2021. Now we're catching up to how we started this pod off, right? Around May of 2021, June of 2021, this is when I'm sitting down really brainstorming, right? Because I'm getting even more intuitive nudges and things like that. And I'm like, I want to start a podcast. And in my head, I was slowly starting to realize I miss being an entertainer. Like, the spirituality shit was cute, but I didn't feel like I was fully living up to my purpose. Like, I felt like it just felt like I wasn't being used in my best way. You know what I'm saying? It felt like I felt empty. I'm not gonna lie. I loved what I was doing. I loved doing readings for people. But let's be honest, bitch, that was helping y'all more than it was helping me. That wasn't doing shit for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love helping people, and so that in itself does something for me. But at the end of the day, that shit was stressful as hell because I'm psychic, I'm a light worker, and so I am sent here to help heal people. I'm going through all of these spiritual attacks. My ass is getting kicked every day by these spiritual attacks. I'm doing these readings and I'm not tapping into y'all energy and y'all trauma and, you know, motherfuckers that done been through hell and back, and I'm tapping into all of that and taking on all that energy, and it's not fun. The end result in you being healed and you feeling better, or you at least knowing where to start healing, that is cute. That I loved. But there were a lot of negatives that made me think, okay, I miss when I had fun. Because now I'm noticing the pattern, just like the Twitter and just like the Storytimes, is getting to a point where I'm no longer having fun and I'm just doing this out of survival. So if we took money out the equation, if I was rich and I had the money, would I still wake up and want to do this shit? No. And when I came to that answer, when I came to that conclusion, that's when it definitely hit me like, yeah, I'm not happy. And so I started thinking deeper and deeper about it because, again, it's not necessarily about the money, but your living situation makes it about the money. Like, I'm on my own, so there are no excuses to be made about that. Bitch, it's always going to be about the dollar amount. When I can't go back to mommy's place, there's not a relative that I can go back to and say, hey, let me stay and get on my feet and da-da-da. So if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. But at the same time, if it don't make me happy, it doesn't make sense. And so I just really had to start thinking, I'm like, I love spirituality. I love it. And by this point, too, part of me healing my traumas and just reflecting over the last few years, I realized, like, it's not that I hate telling stories. It's not that I hate doing entertainment. It's just that I got burnt by entertainment. And once I was able to heal my childhood trauma, it allowed me to go into the future and heal that trauma, re-heal it, because of course I had already thought, I cried about it, I done, made amends with whoever I needed to, I'm good, right? Like, you think that you're good, but a lot of times in life, we just make shit water under the bridge. And so I was forced to visit those old wounds from 2017 and really reflect of, now, where did that pain come from? Like, I understand what happened while the time was, going on. Like, I understand what immediate reactions and why that happened and where that stemmed from. But okay, now let's go deeper. Where did that immediate reaction to this situation stem from? Like, what from your past, what from your deep soul, your deep gut, like what triggered that? And so as I was healing my childhood trauma and able to go back so far in time and realize certain shit, I was able to connect the pieces from 1993 up until 2017. Right? And so I realized that, yeah, I was getting exposed over bullshit, and yeah, there were people telling lies on my name or this, that, and a third. But what I was suffering from the most, those isolated situations, moved away. Because certain people I actually had conversations with, and we're gonna wait for that episode to dive deeper into. But I've had conversations with, so I in my head had thought that I had already received what I needed, and that's why I was able to transition on into the spirituality channel so gracefully, because I felt like I had already got what I needed out of that situation, right? No, no, because the universe was like, now let's go back. Let's go back to that cut. Let's open it back up. I know we've stitched it together. We made it look pretty. And it was almost to the point where this discoloration started fading. But bitch, let's open that shit back up. There's more work to do. There's more work to do. Because you're not happy right now. We need to figure out where that's coming from. And so, again, I realized that I was holding on to a lot of resentment when it came to entertainment, because when I started off YouTube, I started off as me. As me. As me. I was doing what I wanted to do, my way. I was doing TV show reviews. I was doing entertainment videos, funny videos, like shit that was me. And it's not that Storytimes wasn't me. I'm definitely great at it. I'm gifted at it. Hell, when I was a little kid, I used to be a fucking author. Like, I'm good at telling a story. My Mercury is in Gemini. Bitch, I'm great at telling a story. Mind you, right now we're in Mercury retrograde and Mercury is in Gemini, and I natally have Mercury in Gemini. Hence why now the podcast is starting during Mercury retrograde in Gemini. It's a lot. But listen, yeah, like I just realized that I had a lot of hangups with how things had ended, because I felt like I was, first of all, there were abandonment issues that I realized connected back to my past and my childhood. Second of all, more importantly, I didn't realize that there was this deep ass insecurity that I wouldn't be accepted for me. I didn't realize that. Because here I am, Sky Santana, everybody love her. Cha 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 chi chi. Like, everybody loving the girl, you know what I'm saying? And on the outside, everything looks good. You making money. Like, even before I was making $20,000, like, I was making 3 to 10. Like, I was doing good. Like, it. And of course, you don't think you could. You think it's up and it's stuck. So when everything had happened, and now in 2022, 2021, I'm looking back at hindsight, I'm like, I really don't like me. And I don't like me because I feel like people don't like me. Now, where does that come from? And that was when we get into the story times. Insecurity is being scared of your authentic self. It is the belief that your true, authentic self is not as magnificent as it actually is. Let go of that insecurity and do something totally gutsy and feel the relief in that. Amy Lee McCree. So growing up, when I was a little kid, I was not liked. I wasn't. And it's such a crazy comparison to now in 2022, because you can go to any club and ask about me. Okay? Literally any club out here and ask about me. Any club, any bar, they know me. Okay? I'm the bitch who literally has to hug 100 people before I go in, because I know everybody, including the DJs. And listen, you know, because I know that they be on Instagram saying, listen, if she hugged the DJs, throw her away, bro, because she probably fucked them, or she probably mixing, she probably don't fuck the world, and it's true. And I made a cute coin off of it. And I got more stories to tell. What's up? But, you know, I'm saying all that to say, like, my life now is so different than how it was as a kid. Because as a kid, I was not liked. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm dragging it a little bit because it wasn't always. Because in elementary, it's different. You're a kid, right? You're a kid. You're living carefree. You don't care about anything. You want some fuck homework type shit. I just want to play games type shit. In elementary, I was liked. You know, in elementary, I was like, I had a few friends that I would go outside, play jump rope with. And, you know, shit was cute. And when it came to school, you know, it was kind of like, I was always in smart classes. And so, you know, when you go to a small school or when you go to a school in a black neighborhood, it's kind of like, depending on what your GPA is, that is kind of how they set up your classes and your schedule, right? So pretty much everybody that was in my first grade class ended up in my fourth grade class, like, and we just kept moving along with each other, right? And then for middle school, it was right across the street from my elementary, so everybody knew each other. Everything was still cute, everything was still good. And like, even though around 11 years old, 12 years old is when I started to begin to see, okay, what it meant for somebody to not like me, it still wasn't as deep, right? Because people cannot like you and not affect you like that, right? Because you're not around them anyways. And that's how it was in middle school. It was like, I'm still friends with the people I was friends with since I was like 7 years old, because we've been in every class together every single year since we started school. So it was different. There was no need to worry. Then puberty hits, we get to high school, and in high school, that's when you start really developing social skills, and you know, that's when you start reviewing social relationships, and you know, you start dating, and you know, by that time having sex, and that's when it's kind of like pre-adult world, and that's when you really start saying like, okay, who am I? Out of everything that I told you guys, Capricorn rising, we have to grow up quick, right? My life has been very, very hard. Extremely fucking hard. Chaotic, okay? That's what the point of this fucking podcast is, okay? These are my therapy sessions, okay? And my life has been hard. Just Google Capricorn rising, and then Google Saturn in the first house, and then Google Capricorn rising with Saturn in the first house. It's a lot. Okay, and then at 29 degrees at that, it's literally like God said, we're going to make this bitch life hell. Okay, I must have been one hell of a bitch in my past life. Okay, because the way that I'm making up for it this year. Well, not this year. This year has been cute. The one about 22. Okay, the one about 2022. This year has been cute thus far. But the way that I've been making up for my sins in past lives, it's okay though. I'm walking in my purpose now. So life is about to get way better, which I'm excited for. But we'll get to that in the outro, bitch, okay? When I was in high school, that's when, like I said, that's when I started dating. That's when I started fucking. That's when I started, you know, building relationships with people. And I don't really want to go too deep into it because that defeats the purpose of the one about high schools. But at some point, I was friends with everybody because after everything that I've told you guys within this fucking episode, like, I was very ahead of my years. I was very intuitive, very psychic, very much a gifted person, and everyone could tell. It just exuded off of me, right? And that is to toot my own horn. Like, I'm not going to sit here and downplay myself. No, bitch, this is my podcast. That was to toot my own horn. I was that bitch, okay? But it only felt like, it only seemed like I was only that bitch in my mind because everybody else was like, no, you're not, boo-boo. No, you're not. And so I just knew I did not relate to a lot of people in my high school. Like, I did not relate to them. And I felt like I'm beating to my own drum. None of y'all motherfuckers get me. And I started noticing, because remember how I said earlier, like, who you are or what you're meant to do or whatever, at some point you will get a preview of it, but you're not ready for it yet, right? High school is when I started the whole Twitter graphic design thing, right? It was middle school that I did the whole fan fiction thing. And when I say fan fiction, remember like designing the fan sites for the celebrities. And during that time, my social life didn't take a hit, but it was definitely commented on because I would spend less time outside playing jump rope and more time working inside on, I know that someday this is going to be very meaningful for me and it's going to come in handy. So let me learn, okay, HTML and CSS and XHTML and WordPress, and let me learn this shit now because I don't exactly understand why, but it's going to become very useful for me. So let me learn this shit. And that's when my family started thinking I was weird. That's when, the therapist at the school called me weird and the teachers thought I was weird. Oh, you're a young kid. You should be out having a social life. But I knew. I didn't know how exactly it was going to manifest. But something said, do that. And see how it came back around during high school, right? But even the comments on me being a weirdo, how that came around. Because now I'm in high school and now it's hard to, I'm not going to say hard to make friends because at some point I was honestly friends with everybody. I bounced around different social circles. So I felt like, okay, this is a group that I can be around, or at least a lot of high school was, and I feel like it's kind of that way for everybody. A lot of high school is like trauma bonding. Well, it's definitely trauma bonding, but it's like trauma bonding and survival. Like, are you really friends with the people that you're friends with? Or is it more so that, listen, we have the most in common and we do this to survive so that we're not lonely in school? A lot of that I already realized off the bat. Like, my mind was so advanced that it was just like, I don't want to be friends with somebody just for the sake of like having people around. Like, you know what I mean? And so that allowed me to be very mouthy, especially me beating to my own drum. And I was not liked for those things, And so when you get to YouTube someday and then you're praised for the very things that you've been told that makes you weird all your life. Oh, Sky, you talk too fucking much. Oh, Sky, you're a fucking weirdo. Oh, Sky, you're always by yourself. Oh, Sky, you're always, so dramatic and over the top. Oh my God, you're long-winded. Okay, well, guess what? I turned my pain into a profit and okay. 72 million views later, bitch. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's crazy to see like where my life is now compared to like where it started off. And then with cancel culture, because eventually, yes, I get popping on YouTube and everybody and their mama loves me. But then, of course, there's everybody and their mama that don't. Because something that I realized very, very quickly is that, okay, yeah, high school definitely did prepare me for the real world because while there are, people, like you have your niche group that will fuck with you and ride for you, boy, will there be so many that won't. And YouTube definitely reminded me, like, yeah, this is real life. And a lot of people have not grown up. Because when people don't understand you, what do? They bully you. They pick at you. They come up with any excuse to try and hang you across a nail, across a coffin, and just make you out to be an example, even though you're already an example because you don't fit in. You know what I'm saying? But when people don't understand, they pick that apart. And it can eat at you. And it ate at me. It ate at me. It ate at me so fucking bad. Because it reminded me of childhood. It reminded me of, if my friends weren't in the lunchroom, then I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to go, just go hide in one of the rooms that we skip in because I don't want to be seen sitting at the lunch table by myself because I feel uncomfortable. Or I'm just going to make sure that I walk an opposite direction. Or if I know that a certain group of people whose personalities and minds don't get along, I'm not going to walk across that floor. I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go all the way around the block to avoid, like, it reminded me of all of that. Those moments where instead of just shining and being who you are, you dim your light for the comfort of others. And I didn't like that. And so in 2021, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, what do I want in a perfect fucking world? Okay, we know you want your music career. Okay, we know you want your music. Okay, we know that you want to live and sustain comfortably and all of that. But like, what do you want? Seriously, what do you want? If there was no limitations and nobody's thoughts and opinions placed upon and nothing, what would you want? And when I sat and I thought about it, I was just like, I just want to entertain. I love healing people and I love entertaining people. And I feel like I am somebody that can do that at the same goddamn time. Because even though I went through whatever I went through with YouTube and storytelling before, there were moments where I would do these videos like inspirational shit and well, for those that don't understand, that for those that are not familiar, I would tell stories, and it doesn't matter what type of story I would tell, whether it was a sex story or it was a story about me getting in trouble with my teacher. I would always put like an inspirational shit at the end of the story. And I remember the emails, I remember the comments, and that's another thing too. You have to seriously deal with your trauma, because had I not dealt with my trauma, I wouldn't even be able to remember the good moments, because I would immediately think about all the good that happened, and then I would instantly jump back to the bad and be like, okay, but bitch, where did you end up? Where were you when I ended up where I did? You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, sure, you emailed me, yeah. Oh, Sky, you helped my life and you changed my life for the okay, but where did y'all bitches go when I needed you the most? But that's not on everybody else. That's on me. And because I had dealt with my trauma, I was able to wipe those lenses off and see from a clearer perspective. And so that's when I began to realize, like, it's not that I hated storytelling. It's not like I didn't hate it at all. It's just that I did not like me, because I felt like I needed to dim my light in order to be accepted, in order for people to understand me, in order for people to take me as I was. Like, clearly I thought I was trying to be myself, and I'm getting exposed and all of this, that, and the third is happening. Why would I ever throw myself out there again? Why would I want to go back to something like that? And so I didn't. But finally being honest with myself, I was just like, no, like you can't move like that. You can't think like that. Like, you have to be in a space where it's just like, do what the fuck makes you happy. And so that's when I realized, I was like, I get it, God. Like, I get it. Like, I see why the Storytime channel existed. I see why the astrology channel existed, because you were always meant to mix both, because both are facets of who you are. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when, like, you start thinking about, like, passion. That's when you start thinking about, like, purpose. That's when you really start thinking about, like, okay, what is the intent behind what you're doing, right? Because you can go back and say, okay, what's the difference between telling stories then and telling stories now? It's like, the difference is the trauma. The difference is knowing where it's stemming from. The difference is the goal. The difference is the mission. The difference is the journey. It's the journey. It's like when you get into a car. You can go and drive to the same exact place that you drove to in 2014. But something about that drive is going to be different. There might be a new building. There might be a new landmark. Maybe there's a traffic light removed. Like, something about it is going to be different. But the thing about life is that sometimes you have to drive back around to figure out what's different, because maybe it applies. You know, maybe you go back for that drive, not understanding why you need to go to that location, but you go back for that drive and you realize, oh shit, like, there's a closer Starbucks at this location that now I can reroute and change my whole, like, and this is actually much better for me. Like, it's so many different fucking scenarios. But regardless, sometimes you have to drive back, because ultimately it's to show you what's best for you. And so when that all started fucking making sense in my head, I was like, okay, like, I get it now. Like, I get it. Because it's very easy to fall into a deep, dark place and be like, no, like, what? Like, are y'all tricking me? Like, are you fucking serious? Like, you want me to go back into the very same place that exposed me, the very same place that just ripped my band-aids off and said, here, feed this bitch to the wolves. Like, you want me to go back there? Why? Why am I helping these motherfuckers that did not give two shits? But because, again, when you've dealt with your trauma and you've really, like, come down and, like, really been honest with yourself, you realize it was never about them all along. And that's not to negate or say that because you come to set conclusions that bitches gonna stop being bitches and stop hating. No, that's always gonna be a thing. But it's what you do with that energy that makes a difference. Like, are you internalizing it? Because if so, that's an issue. And that was the start of that realization. And that was the start of me brainstorming and saying, okay, yeah, I'm gonna use my voice. I'm gonna do something with my platform. I don't know what yet. You know, I was tossing around the idea of a podcast and things like that. And, you know, that's when I realized, like, yeah, there's a bunch of podcasts that I'm watching now that I love. Like the Joe Budden podcast was one that I had started off watching, which was toxic as fuck. Okay, toxic as fuck. But it reminded me of like the barbershops, right? And then eventually there was like a spinoff of the Joe Budden podcast, which was See the Thing Is, right? Which was like the nail salon, the hair salon version of the Joe Budden podcast, right? Or the nail salon version of the barbershops, right? Because me, I'm someone who obviously thinks very differently. And I feel like a lot of conversations in 2022 is so centered around trauma. Centered around trauma or trauma driven. And I just don't think that it's fair. And I don't think that it's healthy. And I pay attention to shit that happens. I pay attention to shit that's going on. And I can't be the only person on this earth that is... Like, why are we still having the same conversations we was having at 8 years old? Like, bitch, if niggas wasn't shit when I was 8 and niggas still ain't shit when I'm 38, something's a problem. Either it's me or maybe it is these niggas. But if we still having these conversations, then something is wrong. So I'm somebody... good ass H2O. I am somebody that is a humanitarian. So, because I've been done wrong by people, period, and not just a man or a woman or a child or a spouse, or because I've been wrong by people, period, I'm a humanitarian. So, I don't go around with the niggas ain't shit mentality or fuck these bitches and everybody ain't shit. Let's start there. Everybody ain't shit, right? And so, you know, I am of the belief that barbershop talk is toxic. Same as hair shop talk is toxic. Okay, let's look at like the Kevin Samuels of the world, right? We got all of these men popping up with different podcasts now, and they're all toxic. They're all fuck bitches, get money, and high value men, and this, that, the third, and none of that shit is right. But also too, let's add into the, because women, y'all not extinct either. Y'all not exempt. Y'all not extinct. Let's add y'all to the conversation as well, because sitting in a kitchen or sitting in a salon or sitting in a nail shop and hearing your female friend complain about this nigga ain't shit, da 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 da, but this is the 10th nigga that she done complained about in 10 months, and you ain't saying nothing, and all you can reply to her is niggas ain't shit but hoes and tricks. And don't worry, you probably look better than his next. No, she don't, sis. Stop lying to her. Stop lying to her. There's a lack of accountability and awareness on both sides. Okay? Just like, you know, the high value man that only cares about money and, oh, I want a traditional woman. And da, 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 da. Just like that is bullshit, so is the friend that sits around and lets her friend keep making the same goddamn mistake. And see, that's where I come in, right? That's where I come in. So I want to be an entertainer. So I want to help people. I want to heal people. I want to make a difference. Mind you, during this time last year, I'm realizing all of this. Like, I'm paying attention to these podcasts and I'm loving it, but I'm realizing these perspectives are very much one-sided. So now, as somebody who is psychic, a light worker, and has spent the last 2 years helping to heal people, I've realized in my head where trauma stems from. That everybody in this world has trauma. It does not matter who you are. Everybody in this fucking world has trauma, and it always stems from childhood. Whatever you received as a child, whatever your environment was like, that is how your life is going to be set up. Everything is driven from childhood. After doing over like 1,000 fucking clients and helping them to heal, that is the one common thread between each and every single client, is that all your shit stems from childhood. So now you take that and mix it with wanting to be an entertainer, but also knowing, okay, I need to help people. Because see, let me back it up just a little. During this point in time, I had been doing tarot. Okay, when I say I was doing spirituality, I was called to do tarot. But I noticed that wasn't working because, again, I eat all the signs from the universe. Okay, not making any money on lives, and barely getting the numbers on readings, and the channel's not going, getting all the notifications from God. It circles back around because I don't like surprises, so I'm looking more into my life and just trying to figure out, God, what am I supposed to be doing? Because I feel like a mistake. I feel like this is the fourth fucking time. Okay, we done did the graphic designs, we done did the Twitter thing, we done did the celebrity thing, we done did the fan fiction, we done did the storytelling. Now we done did the tarot channel. What am I doing now? Because this Scorpio Pluto 10th house is knocking me the fuck out, and I cannot take another life and death transformation. Bitch, I am 28. I can't do it no more. When the fuck I'm gonna get to my career? I can't do it no more. Because you know how frustrating that is to feel like you are so close to the ghost pole, right? Or the goal post, whatever the fuck it's called. You feel like you're so close, and then that shit gets yanked away, and then you're thrown into quicksand. That shit is frustrating to feel like you're running in quicksand. And that shit is frustrating to feel like every time you think you're there, it just gets further and further away. It's frustrating. And so I really had to spend time with God and spend time with Spirit. Like, yo, where is this going? Where the fuck is my life headed? And as I was doing that, I was noticing I was really, really connecting with astrology. Because again, I would bring up astrology, but it was more so, it was on a very, and even with my readings, they were astrology-based readings, but I was still focused heavily more on, I'm about to say Taurus. I was still focused heavily more on tarot, not so much astrology, unless it was a personal deep dive reading. Slowly but surely, I realized that my actual passion wasn't tarot at all when it came to spirituality. It was astrology. And guess what? When I was young, writing all them books and shit like that, when I first learned how to do music and all of that, I used to do readings back then. When I was like 9, 10, 11, 12, I was super into astrology. I would read my horoscope in the newspaper every day, and I would help people at school and do readings for them. So it was crazy. Again, going back to what I was saying, everything that you end up doing in life or that you're going to become, you've already had even a mustard seed of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, something has already previewed to that, but you were just not ready. You were not in the right space. Like, I wasn't, as a 9-year-old, ready to be a fucking astrologer. I was not ready to be a light work. Like, the fuck, I'm 9, bitch. I just learned how to read and write, okay? I was not in the right space. And look how much other shit I had to go through before I even got to that point, right? I say all of that to say, all of this is going through my head. I'm thinking about making another career transition. I'm thinking about how, because I'm thinking about astrology and how deeply in love with it I am. And I'm studying it, like staying up until 6, 7, 8. Like, there's times where I literally pull overnighters just reading and studying material and just getting to know my chart and getting to know different things. That it was fucking crazy. And I realized, damn, this is something I'm really passionate about. And then when I started looking into like my North Node and my chart, I realized a lot of shit. Now, let me tell y'all, obviously, I want to do music. Y'all know that. North Node is all about your destiny in this lifetime. South Node is all about the destiny that you've mastered. It's your past life. So North Node, this life, South Node, past life, right? So I have North Node in Sagittarius in my 11th house, right? Which means Sag is all about teaching, but passionate, fire, and energy. And so with my North Node in my 11th house of friendships, of communities, right? Of neighborhoods, right? I don't think neighborhoods. Either way, it doesn't matter. But having my North Node in my 11th house, that makes me like a Malcolm X, right? A Martin Luther King, right? That means that I was placed on this earth to teach something. I was placed on this earth to teach something. That is my gift, to teach something. That is my karma, to teach something. Don't matter what I do, but I just need to make sure that whatever I'm doing, that I'm teaching something. Now think about it for a second. When I say teaching, what comes to mind? Inspirational shit. Right. So I'm learning now, like, okay, North Node, 11th house, I'm supposed to be teaching something. I've already dealt with my trauma a month or so prior, realizing why I stopped doing story times and where that pain really stemmed from. And I know that I'm missing entertainment. So now that I'm realizing my North Node is to teach something and I'm already missing entertainment, I'm like, story times. Because inspirational shit. And I can do story times where I actually teach shit. And because I dealt with my trauma and I'm no longer resentful, I won't feel bad about going deeper and not just delivering surface content. Like, I won't feel bad about actually opening up about what I've been through and my trauma and whatnot, because I'm not looking to gain anything other than walking in my purpose. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not looking to gain a friendship. I'm not looking to be liked or get famous. I'm just looking to do what the fuck I was placed at. Like, perspective. You know what I'm saying? But again, shit comes to you when it does, but you have to be patient because not everybody gets it when they're supposed to. Okay, you get there when you're ready, right? And so basically that's when the idea of this podcast was formed. Okay, I was thinking of something that I say all the goddamn time, which is let's start there. Okay, and I was just being very, very aware of everything that was going on in my life. I was noticing what I would get mad at. I was noticing what made me passionate. And, I was just formulating ideas because I'm like, okay, Spirit, you're working with me right now. These are visions. These are downloads. You're placing things. Like, situations will happen to you to show you what you're supposed to do if you're paying attention. If you're not listening to music on that drive and you're paying attention, you will notice all the little synchronicities, right? And so I was noticing, first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, I go on Twitter. I sit on Twitter all goddamn day, and I will argue a bitch down about nothing, right? Or I will tweet all goddamn day about my opinion as if motherfuckers give a fuck, okay? Like, literally, I just be tweeting. Like, y'all see me on Twitter, just tweeting shit that don't nobody give a fuck about, okay? But if I want to bring up, the fact of Malaysia and her friendship with Brandy and how I really felt, how she fucked Brandy over by being all up Evelyn's ass, and that happened like 10 years ago. I don't care. I will bring it up. I will bring it up and have a whole 10-page thesis, okay, about it. And I dare motherfucker to argue with me because I got time. I clearly got time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm noticing that I like to do that. But I'm also noticing, okay, like I said, I miss doing the storytelling. I miss telling, being an entertainer. I miss that side of it, okay? But I also noticing I love healing people. I love, exposing people's trauma and showing them, hey, this is where you need to start, okay? Let's start there, okay? Like, okay, we talking about your husband cheating on you, and this, that, and the third, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But your husband cheating on you comes from abandonment issues, and those abandonment issues comes from you being 9 years old, and your father saying he's going to get ice cream and never coming back. So what? Let's start there. Simple, right? And it was like an aha moment when it just finally clicked in my head. Like, that's what I'm here to do. Like, I'm here to talk about my trauma. Everybody in this world is hurting. Everybody in this fucking world is hurting. And there's literally trauma in every fucking thing. Like, people don't even understand. There's literally trauma in every fucking thing, okay? Do you even realize that a lot of good in your life happens because of bad? Like, do you realize that? A lot of the good times in your life have happened or will happen because something bad was a catalyst to getting it there. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. That's why we try to say live life with no regrets and just hold out and just keep the peace and hold on and all of that shit because, yeah. And so, coming up with the concept of let's start there, it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. It was a no brainer. It was a no fucking brainer. And then especially too, like I'm somebody who don't. I hate when people jump to option D. Okay, like don't jump to point D with me. Like let's start at point A. Okay, like for instance, let's say that you're a parent and then you have two kids and one comes in and says Bobby hit. No, they say that Bobby was fighting in school today, right? Now, child, that's a bad example. But my point is that don't just tell me that you was fighting in school. I need to know what led up to that, right? Because what happened? Did somebody slap the shit out of you? Or were you bullying somebody? Like, all of that matters to how I'm going to react. And when you sit back and you notice that everybody in life has childhood trauma, has trauma that they've either dealt or most likely have undealt with, okay? Because a lot of people still sleep. As if this pandemic didn't wake everybody the fuck up, okay? A lot of people still sleep. But the point is that a lot of people tell stories and will purposely start in the middle to benefit whatever side or reaction that they're trying to get. Like, a lot of people will tell a story and jump to the middle of it purposely to benefit them. And I'm not that type of person. Y'all know, even with Storytimes, we start at the fucking beginning. Why? Because let's start there. How did point A get to point D? Right. So that's how the idea of this podcast was like created, but it took forever getting it off the ground. It did. Because I was going through a lot. Other forms of trauma and living situations. And it took a lot. And then even when I was like announcing it, because I believe like not even like 2 months later, like August, I want to say, August of 2021, I was ready to get shit off the ground. But it just, because it wasn't time. It wasn't time. It wasn't time. That's why I started off this pod saying, like, you know, sometimes you can have that notification, but that doesn't mean it's time for you to go onto that app right now. You know, maybe it's just saying, hey, just check the notification, or hey, there's an update coming, or hey, da 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 da. Like, but it wasn't time, and now it finally feels like it's fucking time. You know, and even these last eclipses that have happened, because I'm being affected in my 4th house of home and my 10th house of career these next 2 years, you know, now I know it's definitely make it or break it. Like, now that I found my purpose, now that I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to do music, but this is the correct steps now that I've healed, and I'm where, like, now this is the correct path to where I'm supposed to be going. The other places, the other steps, I was supposed to go down. I was supposed to go down those steps, but only up until a certain point. Okay, to collect what I needed, and then I was always meant to come back. Okay, I was always meant to let those dominoes fall so that I could go the correct way to really get to where I'm going. Right, and so, you know, shit happens for a reason. But these eclipses have taken me out. Okay, because right now we're dealing with Scorpio and Taurus eclipses, and not so much the 4th house eclipse. We'll do a whole dedicated episode about that. But I do want to briefly mention the May 15th Scorpio 10th house eclipse. Like I said, Scorpios are very intense, life and death transformation, all of that. But it makes me very private. And if you notice, I'll post about my music, but I don't really like being on Instagram like that. And even that I had to unpack as recently as 2 weeks ago. Like, I had to seriously unpack where that comes from. It was a very intense Scorpio eclipse. And it was a full moon eclipse, which meant, you know, endings and karma and wrapping shit up and getting over shit so that you can start a new beginning and move on. And I really just had to wrap up everything I've said within this video as it applies to YouTube and what I've been through, and just realizing how much of that stems from my family, how much of that stems from the environment that I grew up in, and just realizing I don't take chances on myself in ways that I should have, because I feel like people won't care. I feel like people won't give a damn. I feel like, oh, who's gonna like, and it's crazy, right? Because the bitch with so much confidence, right? Like, and also too, the bitch that's intuitive as fuck. Like, I know that I'm going to be where I've always thought or said that I should be, but there's also still too that little kid in you that is eating away, that has stage fright, that's like, no, but do you really believe that though? Like, do you really think these people are gonna like you? Do you really think these people are gonna care? And that's when it's less of anger directed at God, less of why the fuck da 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 God. But what if I open up about my trauma, God, and people still won't care? What if I open up about my trauma and I'm on here telling these deep, dark secrets about my life and it does nothing? What if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do? Whatever that looks like. Like, I don't know what to expect. And that scared me. That scared me. That scared me. Because it made me realize that for a long time, I was protecting my family. Because the things that I've been through are terrible. And for such a long time, people have told me, no, it's not. You know, I sit here and I'm talking about how I kept shit surface on YouTube. And I did that for a reason because I remember when I tried to be vulnerable. I remember when I tried to show that side. I remember when I tried to be something other than a fucking sex worker that just wants to sit and talk about sucking dick all day. I remember when I tried to connect and open up and talk about some things that were going on personally that was really fucking affecting me. I remember when I tried to do that, and I remember when nobody gave a damn. I remember when everybody and their mama told me to shut the fuck up and told my ass to be fucking grateful that I even had a fucking place to live in or that my mother was even still fucking living. Meanwhile, my mother was the very reason I wanted to commit suicide myself. I remember when everybody told me to shut the fuck up. So you mean to tell me in 2021, 2022, God, you're telling me, no, don't shut up, go use that voice? Go use that same voice. To do what? You're told to shut the fuck up again? No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so for a long time, that shit was hard. That shit was hard to deal with because, again, everything was already ready. Car was already ready, packed to go. Family vacation, like got the bags in the car, already got the snacks lined up, got gas in the tank, like everything was ready to go. But there I was, just sitting in the driver's seat, scared to turn the ignition. Because there was those thoughts in the back of my head. What if? What if? What if? And that Scorpio energy. That deep, dark, intense shit. I just saw a fucking orb. Oh shit. I just saw a fucking orb. Right, spirit, right. But it's definitely that deep, dark shit that you're just like, Because once you open those can of worms, there's no coming back from that. No, especially not on a fucking internet where shit literally lives forever. No. And so again, you can have those snacks in the car. You could have the whole playlist set up. Bags could be packed. Like you could be ready to go. But if you're not there mentally, if mentally you're still in a place of, I'm not sure how to navigate this, or, I know I have the directions, but then and you're thinking about all of these different solutions, it's just like, what the fuck is the point? But it's all on God's timing, though. It's all on God's timing. All on God's timing, because even when I think about how many false starts there were, because there were times where I thought I was ready. I thought, now today is the day, and I thought, but, It all happened for a reason. Because during that Scorpio lunar eclipse, that's when I realized a couple of things. And it was just like, yeah, can't keep living like that. Because, like, seriously, sit yourself down. Let's take a look at how it has been serving you, right? Now, granted, however your chart is natally is how it's always going to be. Things can dissipate or evolve, but the basis of it is how shit is always going to be. So if you are Scorpio, Pluto, 10th house, you are always going to be very private about what you do. You just will be. You know, you're going to be very, like, a very intense person when it comes to your legacy, when it comes to your reputation. You know, people are going to either love you or hate you. And that was another thing too, you know, because when I was really diving deep into astrology, I was studying, you know, charts of people that I loved. And I noticed that Nikki, who went through similar things as I did in 2017 at the exact same fucking time, because see, when you sit back and think about shit like that and your mind gets to going, that's how I even started getting back into astrology, deep diving into it. Because my mind was like, this shit can't be coincidence. Like, okay, because this time period is connected and it got to be some type of deeper meaning. And so when I looked and I saw, oh shit, me and Nikki have the same placement for 10th house. That's when you realize, like, certain shit is just inevitable. It's inevitable. People are going to love you or hate you. You're going to have a stand culture. You're going to have people that will fight to the death for you. But there are going to be people who hate you. And it is what the fuck it is. So what are you going to do about that? Nothing. Because there's nothing that you can do. So as it's the eclipse and it's time to handle the endings and you're realizing, okay, figuring out where this shit is stemming from, it's just like, I have to let go of what I can't control. And so it made me realize that I was telling surface stories, not only just for a key, for like a good, you know, piece of entertainment, but it was also out of protection. And I had to be honest with myself. I had to ask myself that question. I said, self, this protection thing that you call yourself doing, is this some sort of badge of honor for you? Like, is this supposed to be some sort of sign of strength that you're not weak? Because from the outside looking in, objectively, this is the very thing that's weakening you. Because while everybody else is prospering, everybody else is living a life that they are meant to live, you're not. Meanwhile, you doing readings for motherfuckers and you telling them to walk in their purpose and walk in their truth, but you can't even do that yourself. So this protection thing, like, how is that working for you? Like, if you needed something, if you fell on hard times, if something were to happen today and you needed something, emergency, can you honestly say that those same people that you're protecting would turn around and then protect you? And when I realized that the answer was no, that was a very hard pill to swallow. A very hard pill to swallow. Because you can be separated, you can be estranged, you can say, okay, love you from a distance. Like, you can say whatever. You can make up, you can say whatever. But at the point in which you still hold an obligation to yourself to protect values or foundations that you never helped destroy, that's when you got to check yourself and you got to be honest. Whose values are these? Whose foundations are these? And if shit fell apart, then why are you still trying to protect the rubble? Why are you protecting the dust? That shit already fell apart before it even began. So it's not your fault that shit crumbled. And it's not your fault that now you're being asked to walk away and speak about that experience. Because maybe just maybe, going and leaving that Yelp review, or going and speaking to that owner of the next company, or going to that next construction site, maybe just speaking about your experience with that foundation, with that rubble, maybe that will help put some key things in place to make sure that this building doesn't crumble. Maybe you're saving somebody time, maybe you're saving somebody money, maybe you're saving a destruction from happening. You don't know why you called to do that. You was just going to the store. You mind your business. You was trying to do whatever, but that's what you were called to do, and so that's just what you end up doing. And that is literally how we got here. How we got fucking here. So let's start there.
For so long, I felt like I would be judged if I was to ever be my truest, most authentic self. I felt like I would either piss off a lot of people or rub folks the wrong way, and a lot of people just wouldn't get me. And the reality is that all of that is very much true. Because at the end of the day, that's just how life works. And, I've learned to be okay with that. I have this saying, right, that I say literally all the time. And it's, who's gonna beat my ass, right? Like, who gonna beat my ass? And at first, it started off as a joke, But the more I would say it, the more it resonated with me, the more I resonated with that statement. Because think about it like this: you have a dream, chase it. There's someone you want to date them. You want to move across country from New York to LA, bitch, do it. Because why? Because who the hell is gonna whoop your ass to make sure that you don't? Like, seriously. In life, I feel like we place way too much energy into upholding these structures and upholding somebody else's values. And so let's start there. It's the furthest thing from that. I'm here to literally deprogram all of that shit. And a lot of the times, what I would have to say probably won't be politically correct. And it is gonna piss people off, but good. Because as long as I'm using my voice, using my gift from God, because for so long I didn't, that's all that matters. So I vow to be as authentically transparent and as open as I can be with y'all. I need to ensure that I not only entertain the girls, but teach and heal y'all hoes as well. And that is where we're going to wrap this thing on up. Now, I want to thank y'all so much for listening to Let's Start There. If you hated me for that opinion, don't worry, bitch. I got way more where that came from. So make sure you show some love for your new favorite podcast by leaving a 5-star, bitch, a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify podcasts. New pod episodes drop every Monday and Wednesday, along with the video version released 24 hours after, with the full video version on Patreon immediately. So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel for all things Sky Santana, and go ahead and subscribe to the Patreon so you can get those exclusive goodies and the full version and, the bonus content. And like I always say, fuck it up, ho. I'll fuck you up, ho. Until next time, my love. Bye, babies. Keep my foot in your throat. Ain't no written to go. Keep my foot in your throat. Ain't no written to